Hello, everyone, and welcome to Study Abroad 101. I am one of the Study Abroad coordinators in the Office of International Education and Services here at Southeast Missouri State University. So any questions you have when it comes to study abroad, you can always feel free to start by contacting our office. Our email is international@semo.edu. But today, hopefully, this will give you a good overview of how study abroad works at our university so that it can help you get started with your research and how to navigate programs on our website. We're going to start with just covering what study abroad is, because there are so many students who don't really, you may have heard of it as like this far off luxury experience, but this is actually something that is available to any student. We do have affordable programs that you can participate in, and there are scholarships available to help you participate in study abroad. So we want students from any background to participate in these programs because that helps strengthen our community back home when our students bring back those international experiences. So what is study abroad? Study abroad is an academic program where you have the opportunity to live or travel abroad while earning credits towards your SEMO degree. So it's not just vacation, it's not just, traveling, but you're actually, while traveling or while living abroad for a semester or a full year, you will be earning credits that will count towards your degree program here at SEMO. We have study abroad opportunities in more than 40 countries around the world. And we're able to offer these opportunities because we have established partnership agreements with universities abroad, in addition to a couple of program providers that we work with. So program providers are companies that offer study abroad programs to students. There are many program providers out there. We don't have affiliations with all of them, but most of them are open to students even if we don't have an affiliation with them. The great thing about participating in the provider programs that we do have an agreement with is that we have a billing agreement set up with those providers so that the costs that you pay for the program will be billed through your Southeast student account. And so that means you can still use, your regular payment plan. All of your financial aid and scholarships will easily apply towards the costs. And so that's why we would encourage you to either go on a program through one of our partner universities or one of our program providers that we have an agreement with. But of course, you can explore other opportunities with providers like Semester at Sea, for example, that we don't necessarily have an agreement with, but you could still participate in those programs and pay those providers directly. And basically, when you come back, you would just transfer the credits back to SEMO. But again, if you go through one of our partner universities or one of our program providers that we work with, which at the moment those are CIEE and AIFS Abroad, then you can use your SEMO financial aid and scholarships towards those costs, and we will assist you with the credit approval and transfer process. So, who should you contact when you have questions about study abroad? You should reach out to, I would start with a study abroad coordinator in our office. So the Office of International Education and Services. You can see our contact information on the screen here. You can, of course, reach out to your faculty members as well, depending what department you're in. They may be familiar with a few programs that their students have participated in, but we have so many opportunities. We have more than 300 program options that you can choose from. And so if you come to our office, we can help you explore all of the opportunities and help you kind of narrow down to a specific program that you might be interested in, which then you can bring to your faculty members in your department and request their assistance with how the courses that you plan to take abroad will transfer back to SEMO. And so I would always come talk to our office first to help you navigate program options and the application process. But then, of course, the academic advising, you will reach out to your department or the department under which the subject areas you're taking abroad falls. And so our office does serve as the main contact for our partner institutions abroad. We help students plan study abroad programs. We manage all aspects of our exchange programs, so both the incoming exchange students and then, of course, our outgoing study abroad and exchange students as well. And we work with campus offices to make your study abroad experience smooth. So that means working with the registrar's office when your transfer credit comes back from study abroad, working with student financial services to make sure your scholarships are applied correctly and the billing is processed correctly for your program. And so we're happy to support you and work with campus offices as we need to. And so always just reach out to us if there's an office or a staff or faculty member on campus who has questions about your program, you can always get them in touch with our office as well, so we can help answer any questions they have. So what are your actual study abroad options here at SEMO? So we have what we consider to be long-term programs and then short-term programs. So if you do one semester, that would be mid-length. Then if you do a full year abroad, that can be considered a long-term program. So on those programs, for each semester that you spend abroad, you're typically earning somewhere between 12 to 15 credit hours for undergraduate students and 9 to 12 credit hours for graduate students, so that you're still enrolled full-time during your semester abroad. The cost of the program, this is always one of the most difficult questions to answer, actually, because all of our programs have slightly different costs depending on how the program is set up, the length of the program, where it's located, etc. So I've kind of broken it down into two different cost categories. So the first category you see here is called exchange semester program. So anything that you see labeled or titled as an exchange semester program, those are programs where you will pay your regular SEMO tuition rate. So you'll be billed through SEMO for tuition, pay SEMO the usual rate that you do pay when you're taking on-campus classes. And then the difference in cost for that program, of course, will just be the cost of living wherever you're studying abroad. And so the cost of living, of course, will vary depending on the country you're in and the city that you're in within that country. But to give you kind of an idea, most of the locations where we offer exchange programs, and these are programs where we have direct partnership agreements signed with those universities abroad, we have established relationship with partners who are located in places that have similar cost of living to Cape Girardeau, or maybe even lower cost of living, depending on where you're going. So you can expect that your exchange semester abroad will be a similar cost to what you pay when you're actually here in Cape Girardeau studying for a semester. In addition to our exchange semester program, you'll also see some programs that are called semester abroad. Semester abroad programs, those are also programs that we have signed direct agreements with universities abroad, but instead of exchanging students, so, an exchange program is where we receive students from that institution and send students to that institution. So it's actually an exchange between the two institutions. The difference between an exchange semester program and a semester abroad program is that we do not receive students from those partner universities. We only send students to study abroad at those partner institutions. And so since we don't actually have that exchange relationship set up, instead of paying SEMO tuition for those semester abroad programs, you will actually pay the tuition rate of the university where you're studying abroad. So a couple of examples of the semester abroad programs that we offer. We have one in London, England, at the University of Roehampton. So students on that program, you'll receive a percentage discount off of their regular tuition rate, and you will actually be billed still through SEMO, but the tuition rate will be slightly higher than your usual SEMO tuition rate. The same thing happens when you go on the University of the West of Scotland semester abroad program. So that program as well will be billed the same way. So you'll be billed to your SEMO account, but the cost of tuition will be slightly higher because you'll be paying the tuition rate of the University of the West of Scotland rather than the SEMO tuition rate. We also have semester abroad options in Puerto Rico. So all of our programs in Puerto Rico, which is not technically study abroad, but we would maybe consider those to be study away programs in Puerto Rico, because it is a U.S. territory, but it is definitely a unique cultural and geographical area where you can be immersed in a different cultural and political context. And so those programs are also considered semester abroad programs. So you will actually on those programs not be billed through your SEMO account for the courses you take in Puerto Rico. Instead, you'll pay directly to the partner university in Puerto Rico for your tuition. I will say the tuition rate actually at our universities in Puerto Rico is a bit lower than the usual SEMO tuition rate. So for any classes you take there, you'll be paying actually less than you would for tuition on campus here at SEMO. And there's something cool about those programs as well, where you can do concurrent enrollment. So if you can't find 5 classes to take in Puerto Rico that fit into the classes you need to graduate, you can take a combination of online classes at SEMO and in-person classes in Puerto Rico. And then, of course, you would just pay tuition for the courses you're taking at SEMO to us at SEMO. and then tuition for the courses you're taking in Puerto Rico directly to that university in Puerto Rico. In addition to those programs, so in addition to the exchange semester and semester abroad programs, which again are through those direct university agreements that we have established, we also offer what I had referred to previously as our program providers. And so again, those are AIFS Abroad and CIEE. They do offer so many semester and full year abroad options for students of any major in nearly any geographical area that you can think of. So there are so many country options you can choose from on those provider programs. I will say with those programs, the cost does tend to be a little bit higher than our exchange semester and semester abroad options. But for they also offer intern abroad programs, and the intern abroad programs do actually tend to be much more affordable than the study abroad options that they offer. But I would totally encourage you to check those options out if that's something of interest to you, because they provide a lot of support, of course, because they have a whole team working with their company that supports you throughout the process of applying, and they even have on-site staff there in the country. So if it's your first time traveling abroad, it is really great to have that whole support network around you. But of course, through our exchange and semester abroad programs, we will also be here to support you. We have, a lot of trust in our partner institutions abroad that we've been working with since many of those relationships we've had since the 1980s. So we have long-standing relationships with these host institutions abroad as well. And so they will take care of our students. We have continued in those relationships and established those relationships because these are people and universities that we can trust to take care of our students. So I wouldn't feel concerned, if cost is one of the most important factors to you. I think I would definitely encourage you to consider an exchange semester program. But if you're interested in doing more practical experience, like an internship abroad, then I would encourage you to look at AIFS and CIEE programs for sure. We also offer, in addition to these long-term and mid-length programs, we have what we call short-term study abroad programs as well. These short-term programs are offered typically during our break periods. So we have programs during summer, winter, and spring break that we're offering currently. These programs can last anywhere between 1 to 8 weeks, depending on the program. And on most of these programs, you'll be earning 3 credit hours, but there are some programs over the summer term that you can earn up to 6 credit hours if it's a bit longer program. So we have, again, these broken down into a couple of different cost categories. So the lowest cost option typically is going to be what we call our faculty-led programs. So faculty-led programs, it is sort of what it sounds like by the title. It's a program that is planned and led by our faculty members here at SEMO. And they take a group of SEMO students on this program. So they have developed the curriculum for the course that's associated with the program. And so before you travel, there will be some pre-departure meetings leading up to the travel. And that will allow you to earn up to 6 credit hours. There are actually some faculty-led programs over summer where you can earn 6 credit hours. But again, most of those will be a 3 credit hour course that you'll be earning credit for. And so these are very affordable programs because basically it's just like enrolling in a regular on-campus course. So you pay for 3 credit hours at your usual SEMO rate. And then on top of the tuition for the course, there is a program fee that will help cover the travel expenses. And so program fees cover things like accommodation, excursions that you'll be going on, and transportation between different cities or different countries if it's a program that goes to multiple different countries. What is not typically included in that program fee is international airfare. And I'll give you an example on the next screen of kind of the range of our program fees, because it does vary depending on the program, again, on the length and the location of where you're going, how much those program fees would cost. In addition to our faculty-led programs, another very affordable option are any of our short-term programs that are offered by our partner universities. So we have quite a few summer programs that are led every summer by our partner institutions abroad. And so on those programs, you won't necessarily be traveling with other SEMO students or faculty members from SEMO, but you'd be studying for the summer at one of our partner schools. And so again, we have a lot of trust with those partners. They've been running these programs for years and years. years and welcoming students to their campus for a short-term summer program. So those are absolutely amazing opportunities. We have one in South Korea at Hansung University. They offer a Hansung University International Summer School every year, which has a Korean language and culture focus. We have a similar program in Japan at Tokyo Kasei University, where they offer a short-term program in Japan that has a Japanese language and culture focus. We also have a similar program in Mexico at our partner university, University of Monterrey, and that program has a Mexican culture and Spanish language focus. So those are all examples, and there are probably more that I'm not thinking of off the top of my head, but those are very affordable, great opportunities for our students to go abroad. On those programs, you'd earn between 3 to 6 credit hours as well. And then in addition to the faculty-led and then the programs that are led by our partner institutions abroad, we do also, of course, have short-term programs through those program providers that I mentioned before, AIFS Abroad and CIEE. And so they have a number of winter break programs available and summer programs as well that you can look into. Typically, again, are anywhere from 3 to 6 credit hours. And all different, if you're looking for something that's like very focused in your academic area, if you're like in STEM, or, if you have specific interests like marine biology, these programs are great to look into because you would be able to get more hands-on experience directly related to your field. Whereas if we don't have a faculty member from your department, like biology, for example, who is currently leading programs, you can still participate in the other faculty-led programs that we offer, but it might be something that counts more towards like a general education requirement that you have rather than a major requirement. So if you do really want to go abroad and do a program that's focused in your area of study and you don't see one on our faculty-led options that matches with your career area, then I would definitely encourage you to look into our AIFS Abroad and CIE programs because they have so many opportunities in all different academic areas and locations around the world. So again, our exchange semester programs is the low end of costs for a semester abroad. So you'll pay your SEMO tuition for 12 to 15 credit hours. So that will depend, of course, on what your tuition rate is, whether you're a domestic, international, graduate, or undergraduate student, but you'll pay your usual SEMO tuition rate for the amount of credits that you're taking. And then on top of that, you'll just pay the cost of living. And the cost of living for a semester in France at the University of Angers is estimated to be about $3,600 US per semester. So I would say that's pretty comparable, if not actually lower costs to here in Cape Girardeau, Missouri. Then for our faculty-led programs, to give you an example of how much a short-term program might cost, just this past winter break 2025, we had a faculty-led program in Italy over winter break. It was a 2-week program. Students paid 3 credit hours of tuition. They had the option to choose between 3 different courses. So there were 2 business-related courses and then one open to any major that's called UI 343 Transcultural Experience. Typically that UI 343 credit is an option for most of our faculty-led programs, and that will, for a lot of students, satisfy like a humanities general education requirement, but it could potentially also satisfy one of your major requirements if you have any like cultural requirements within your program. So you'll have to work with your department to find out exactly how those courses would fit in. But for most any major, there is some substitution that can be made so that course can count towards one of your requirements for graduation. So on top of the 3 credit hours for the course that you elect for the program, students for this program paid a $2,111 program fee, which covered the accommodation, in-country transportation. So they visited multiple cities in Italy. So it covered the bus rides to different cities, also covered all of the admission and entrance fees to any cultural excursions that they went on. Most meals were included in that program fee, so students just had to budget for a small number of meals on their personal expenses. And then it also covers travel insurance. And so all students on our programs are enrolled in travel insurance during the length of their program. So then you can kind of rest easy knowing you have this coverage. If there was any kind of cancellation, like you had a flight canceled, that would be covered by your travel insurance. Also, medical kind of expenses are covered typically by your travel insurance. Emergency evacuations or anything like that would also be covered by travel insurance. So that helps you know that you are covered financially in the case that something unexpected happens during your time abroad. which is always a possibility, but that's also a way that you grow and learn from the experience, of course, by going through these kind of unknown, unexpected scenarios. So another thing, again, I wanted to emphasize is that this $2,111 program fee does not include international airfare. So on top of the 3 credit hours tuition, $2,111 program fee, students also purchase airfare to and from Italy. And so that is a typical cost for most of our short-term programs. I would say ranges for the program fee somewhere between $2,000 to all the way up to maybe $4,000. If it was on the $4,000 line, that might be a program that already includes the international airfare in the program fee. We always have listed on the program brochure which expenses are included in that fee and which expenses are not, so that you have a good understanding of what you need to budget for on top of the program fee. And ask us questions if you don't know exactly what's included, so that you can plan ahead of time. So again, you can also, in addition to studying abroad, you can also participate in internships abroad. The most guided way that you can participate in an internship abroad is, again, through our CIEE and AIFS abroad programs. They have a whole company, a whole support system, both here in the US and then on site in all of the locations where they offer programs. So there's definitely a lot of support involved in the entire process when you're setting up an internship abroad with those programs. They have internship opportunities in nearly any field that you could imagine. So if you're interested, you can always reach out directly to CIE or AFS. If you want to talk to them on the phone, they always have such helpful staff available that can help talk you through which is the best location for you, depending on what your preferences are. And so I would definitely encourage you to reach out directly to those providers with questions you have about what might be the best internship abroad option for you based on what you're looking for. But in addition to the CIE and AFS abroad internship programs, there is also potential that you could participate in an internship abroad program through our Magellan Exchange programs. I will say you do need to be prepared that you'll need to do a lot of the legwork in terms of setting up your internship, interviews, sending applications on your own if you do set up an internship through Magellan Exchange. So I would say a Magellan Exchange program, and let me backtrack and explain what our Magellan Exchange programs are. So Magellan is a consortium, or basically a group of universities that we all work together to exchange students. And so there are many Magellan institutions in the US. We are one of those Magellan institutions. And then there are many Magellan institutions across Europe, as well as Asia, Latin America. And so, you can find many exchange opportunities through the Magellan programs, which they are also listed on our study abroad portal. So you can navigate those Magellan programs there. Those are the ones labeled with these little parentheses, ME, and then they say exchange semester in blah, blah, blah. So any programs that you see labeled ME are through our Magellan exchange programs. And a lot of those institutions do have career services offices similar to ours here in Cape Girardeau that could help you find an internship opportunity in that particular area. But that being said, there's no guarantee that they would be able to place you. And so for a Magellan Exchange program, you definitely want to make sure that your priority is studying abroad, and then an internship abroad. If you wanted to add that on to your semester, you'll have to do a bit of planning on your own and setting up those interviews and all of that. So I want to show you a testimonial because I think it's very impactful to hear from a student who has actually participated in one of these programs to get an idea of what it's really like. And so this is one of our SEMO students who participated in a faculty-led Summer in Berlin, Germany program. So this is a program where students can earn up to 6 credit hours by spending 3 weeks in Germany. We offer this summer program every June. And so this is a really great opportunity. You have a week in Berlin and then 2 weeks in Schmalkalden. You do a lot of different cultural site visits, but then there's also some classroom time where you spend time at the university in Schmalkalden. And a really cool part of the program is at the end, you participate in something called the Schmalolympic Games, which is basically like a little mini Olympics in the community of Schmalkalden. And so that's a really cool event because it's not just on campus with the other students, but you're actually getting into the community and participating in an event that the community partakes in every summer as well. So that's a great way to kind of cap off your experience in Germany. Here we go. Now I will let you hear from Grace.
There for about 3 weeks, and it was international business focused. One of my favorite things was getting to be taught by professors from a lot of different countries. I think we had 4 or 5 different locations. It was called the Midnight Sun Lectures. We got to go and do a lecture up on the top of this mountain in Schmalkalden from about 6 p.m. to 4 a.m. and we had a lecture throughout the whole night and then had an exam in the morning. It was just a really, really cool experience. It's really interesting to see culturally the differences, but also the things that are the same. We noticed a lot of things when we were there that we weren't expecting, we weren't prepared for, but there are also things that were very similar that show, we're all humans, it's just a little bit different. I think it's definitely important that everybody have international experience. It just broadens your worldview, and it gives you the ability to emphasize with other people and to see other parts of the world. If you're thinking about doing this program, 100% do it. Everybody's willing to work with you. It's super, super fun. Before you go, it's really good to have an idea kind of the culture of what you should expect, because it is different. Definitely do some preparation. But while you're there, just say yes to everything. Do any experience you can, get the most out of it completely. Sleep can wait. You're only there for about a month. Say yes to everything.
I will emphasize the point that she made about everyone is willing to work with you. So there are a lot of students in degree programs that are nervous that, going abroad will delay their graduation. It won't count towards their requirements. But a lot of times students are surprised to find how flexible their faculty are in substituting some certain requirements within their degree program for these opportunities to study abroad. So if you're interested at all, reach out. I'm sure your faculty will support you in the program. We will support you and find a way for you to participate in this opportunity. Again, for financial concerns, we have scholarships available, and then academic concerns. Most faculty on campus are willing to work with you and make the program work for you and progress you towards your degree. So then this is the same program that Grace was just talking about, but I wanted to give you an idea of what the program actually looks like. So these are videos that were taken on site in Berlin and Schmalkalden. So I'll just show you a clip of this video so you can see what this experience is actually like for our students traveling abroad. And of course, this program takes place in Germany, but the experience, of course, would look similar. You'll have classroom hours as well as excursions in every study abroad short-term opportunity that we have. So this will give you an idea what it's like to be on the ground while studying abroad on these programs. see from the video that it is very much, when you're studying abroad, especially on one of these short-term programs, you know, that's 1 to 8 weeks long, it is very much focused on experiential learning. So, you know, you are in another country, so we want you to spend time getting to know that other country, getting to know the community, the history of that country. And so the best way to do that is actually seeing it with your own eyes, going to different cultural sites, and maybe business site visits if it's a business focused program, or medical site visits if it's a medical focused program, architectural sites if it's an architecture interior design program, so that you can actually see it with your own eyes. It's much different than reading about it in a textbook. So definitely the focus of these programs is very experiential learning. Of course, you saw, you know, the faculty pause, you know, in certain locations to help you reflect on kind of what you're experiencing and learning in that context. But it's not a lot of, like, you know, in class time in these, you know, short-term impactful programs. We want to make sure that you have the chance in this short period of time to visit the sites and kind of do things more hands-on. So those are really great options. Of course, the most popular options for study abroad actually are those short-term programs. I think there are a number of reasons for that, but of course it's just a bit more flexible for students to fit into both their schedule and their degree plan, since it's not so many credit hours that you're taking on that program. It's just 1 or 2 courses that you'll have to find, you know, a way to substitute within your degree program. And then of course, you know, it's not quite as big of a time commitment to spend abroad on these programs. And you have a bit more support since you're with this kind of cohort who's traveling together. So where can you actually go when it comes to study abroad? I did mention we have programs in more than 40 countries around the world, so those are spread across 6 different continents. Students, again, from any major can study abroad, and actually any major can choose from all of our programs. However, some locations may offer stronger options for certain majors. And so I did mention before, like if your marine biology is your, you know, primary interest, we might not have a faculty-led option that specifically focuses on marine biology. So then if you really want to go and get hands-on experience in that specific area while abroad, you might want to consider an AIFS abroad or CIE program so that the focus is a bit closer to the area that you're wanting to go into. But if what you really want is to get, you know, experience within a specific country or culture, like if you're very interested in Japanese culture, or if you want to learn Korean, we have great language options where you can be immersed in those languages. And that doesn't necessarily have to be your major. The courses that you take abroad can, of course, count towards major coursework if you're taking courses within your area of study while abroad. But they can also apply towards general education requirements or a minor. And so if you spend a semester abroad studying a foreign language, that would help you, if not, you know, complete a whole minor in language, you would at least be able to complete a good chunk of that minor while abroad. So languages is definitely a good minor to select if you're thinking you want to spend a semester abroad in a specific country where they don't necessarily offer courses within your area of study. Or also international business is a great option to select as a minor. If you're interested in going into a particular country, there are so many countries around the world that offer coursework taught in English in business, because international business being done between countries a lot of times is conducted in English. So, regardless of the country you're going to and what the language, you know, primary language spoken in that country is, a lot of countries do offer coursework in English for business because they know their students will need to be able to navigate the English language when conducting business between countries. So definitely a minor within our modern languages department or a minor in international business would be a good minor to declare if there's like a specific country you really want to go to, but they don't necessarily offer coursework within your major. So before going abroad, we will help you work with the appropriate department chair or program director to make sure that the courses you take abroad will actually count towards your degree here at SEMO, so that you know before you go abroad how the coursework is transferring back and counting towards your degree here. One thing to note is that you'll work with a department chair from the area of the subject area that you're taking. So if you're taking Japanese language courses abroad, you would work with the department chair for communication studies and modern languages for those course approvals. But if you're taking for example, let's say interior design courses abroad, then you'll work with the department chair for art and design. And they might have a faculty member designated whose specialty is interior design in that area. So they might also refer you to speak with that particular faculty member as well. But ultimately, it will be the department chair who signs off on your course approvals. So you'll want to make sure the department chair is at least in the loop and knows about your study abroad program. The one thing to note is that in the Harrison College of Business and Computing, they have designated one faculty member who is the Director of International Business Programs, currently Dr. Jim Caldwell. So Dr. Caldwell is the one who assists students in the Harrison College of Business and Computing with academic advising and those course credit approvals for the whole College of Business and Computing. So these are the countries that we offer in Latin America. At the moment, we have programs in Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Costa Rica, Ecuador, Mexico, and Uruguay. In the Caribbean, we have programs in the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. In Europe, I won't read this whole long list, but you can see we have many options in Europe. I'll highlight one that's new this year. We just signed an agreement through our Magellan Exchange programs with a university in Cyprus. So that's close to Greece, which we do also offer programs in Greece, but the programs in Greece are through those providers, so CIE and AFS, which again tend to be a bit more expensive. The program in Cyprus is one of our exchange programs, so the cost for that program will be much lower. So if that's of interest to you, I would encourage you to look into that program. In Africa, we have programs in Botswana, Ghana, Morocco, and South Africa. In Asia, we have programs in China, Japan, Jordan, Singapore, South Korea, Taiwan, and Thailand. Thailand is actually one of our newer partner institutions, again, through our Magellan Exchange programs. So that is a great option. Taiwan, South Korea, Japan is one of our most popular options as well. And then in Oceania, we have programs in both Australia and New Zealand. So when should you actually start planning? You can see we have so many opportunities out there. So I would say it's never too early to start planning your semester abroad or your short-term program. You can actually go abroad on a short-term program as early as your freshman year on campus at Southeast. Most of our short-term programs do not have a credit hour requirement. Some might have a GPA requirement or consider GPA if there's a lot of applications, but you can actually go abroad your freshman year, and the earliest you could go would be winter break of your freshman year. Then after that, we have spring break or summer, of course. And then your sophomore year, or after you have 30 credit hours. So if you've come into college, with dual credit, of course, that will put you closer to that requirement. But once you have 30 credit hours and you are considered a sophomore standing, and you also have a 2.5 GPA, you can participate and apply for our semester and full year programs as well. So your first year, you can start exploring short-term programs and start doing some research on maybe where you'd be interested in going for a semester or a full year. And then another reason that we recommend you start planning in advance is because our scholarship applications do close about 1 year in advance. And so I'll get into that in a little bit more detail later on. So how you actually search for programs is through our study abroad portal. So this is the link to our study abroad portal. I'm not going to ask you to write that down or remember that. There are ways to find this link on our website. So if you Google SEMO Study Abroad, this link should be one of the first ones that pops up. And this is our study abroad page. So it has multiple different sections here. But to get to the actual study abroad portal, you can just scroll down, and under choosing a program, you'll see this link to explore programs on SEMO Study Abroad portal. So when you open this up, this will take you into our portal, and our portal is where you will actually apply for programs. I would encourage you to create an account in the portal, which your login information, when you click sign in here, it'll just be the same as your usual SEMO login. So the same as like your Outlook and your Canvas account, it'll be the same credentials as you usually use for SEMO. So you'll just sign in with your SEMO account. And then you'll be able to, there's like a program match survey you can fill out. So then it will sort all of the programs Instead of by trending, it'll sort them by the percent that they match to your preferences. So that's really cool, and it kind of helps you narrow down some program options. You don't have to choose the program, that's most closely matched according to the system. I would encourage you to do a little bit of digging and see whether the system has correctly identified the best program for you, or there might be other programs that you're more interested in that only show like 10% match. But it will help you kind of start narrowing down options. And once you create an account, you'll also be able to put a little heart icon here so you can start adding programs to your favorites list. And so over time, you can kind of get this list, and then you can bring that to us and we can help you narrow down from your favorites which one might be the best match for you. So this is our portal. I'm going to put it in order from internal A to Z because that will basically make it in order of like our short-term programs to our exchange programs, then semester abroad, and then after that it'll go into the provider programs. So essentially that puts it in order of lowest cost to highest cost program. And so when you start looking, you'll see all of these different options. You can use filters for a specific term. So if I'm interested in going abroad in summer, I can select summer here and then filter to just summer program options. I can also, like if I want to go abroad for fall 26, I can filter to fall and see what my options are for fall. Anything that's labeled like this, ME exchange semester, those are programs through our Magellan exchange programs, which function the same way as a regular exchange program. You'll still pay SEMO tuition and the cost of living will be the only difference in cost during that semester abroad. Scrolling down, you'll see after the Magellan programs, you'll see just the exchange semester program, followed by our semester abroad options, followed by our provider programs. And so scrolling down, you see this AIFS abroad, CIEE programs. So these are those programs that are offered by those providers. You can look through all of our program options, and once you're ready, you see a program here like, oh, I'd be interested in going to Costa Rica. You can click open that program, and it'll take you to what we call our program brochure. So this is our digital program brochure for the exchange semester in Costa Rica program. On the first page, you'll see like the different application deadlines. You will see for our Magellan programs, there is a second step where you'll have to apply through Magellan's website as well. So it's okay if you apply first through Magellan and then on our website, but I would encourage you to apply first on our portal because the Magellan application does have a fee. And so if for whatever reason you're not approved by our office to study abroad, but you've already paid that fee, you wouldn't necessarily be able to be refunded that application fee on Magellan's website. So I would encourage you to first apply on our study abroad portal for any program that you're considering, but we'll always work with you if for whatever reason, you found a different application first. We'll try to work with you on getting your application submitted in our portal as well. Anyway, so on this first tab, there's different tabs here for each program. The program overview has general information. You'll see the contact information for whoever manages that particular program so you can reach out with questions. The About Program tab has information on the location, language, passport and visa requirements, housing information, because every program has different setup in terms of housing. This particular program that we've pulled up as an example has host families for their housing option, whereas many programs might have like an apartment that you'll live in off campus, a house off campus, or you might even be living in residence halls depending on where that program is located and what housing options they have. So you'll see that information here, if any meals are included. So for this particular program, all meals are provided by your host family. Then there's some links for the host organization. So you'll see different helpful links that will go directly to that university's website. So this program is hosted by the Latin American University of Science and Technology. So this will go directly to their website and information that they have provided. So then under academics, you'll see more information about courses that are offered and, different links to see specific course descriptions and titles and things like that. Under term information, you'll see the different terms that are currently open. Just because you only see fall 26 and spring 27 here does not mean we will not be offering this for fall 27. It just means we have not yet opened the applications for fall 27. So if you see here, that a program is offered for fall and spring of one year, most likely it will be offered again for the following fall and spring. We just haven't opened the application yet. So you can always reach out to us if you have questions. and you want to apply for a future term, we can let you know when that term will be open for you to apply. Under the eligibility tab, you'll see what the eligibility requirements are. So this one is typical for a exchange semester program. So you do have to be a SEMO student in good standing with the university. So that means, good academic standing, disciplinary, and financial standing. You have to have 30 credits by the time you travel abroad. So not necessarily at the time of application, but by the time you're traveling abroad, you will have to have 30 credits completed. And then also a minimum cumulative GPA of 2.5 at the time of application. In the application itself, you will also have to submit an essay stating why you wish to participate in the program, along with 2 references. When you open the application, you'll see there is a field where you can enter the email address for your references. And so when you enter that email address, you'll just click send. That will send the academic reference form to, whoever you're asking to be your reference from our system. And so then they'll receive an email asking them, saying that, John has requested that you complete his reference to study abroad on the exchange semester in Costa Rica program. And then they'll get this link to fill out a form, and there will also be an option to upload a letter if they've written a letter reference for you as well. For the cost and funding, you'll find this on each different brochure's website as well. You can kind of see a breakdown here. So you'll pay SEMO tuition based on 12 to 15 credit hours, so your usual rate of 12 to 15 credit hours. Plus, this is the cost of living that they estimate for a 16-week stay in Costa Rica. And there is, for this particular program, a one-time admission fee per academic period. So if you're studying for one semester, that's just charged one time. Same if you're studying for a whole year, that would just be charged to you one time. And then there's a link here that you can get a kind of more detailed breakdown. And that's typical. You'll have a similar setup on most of our program brochures, so you can explore that information for any program that you're interested in. You can also access the Study Abroad portal directly through your my.semo portal. If you just search Study Abroad portal like you see in the screenshot here, it should pop up as a tool. If you don't see it immediately, you might have to click this little tools icon. Then you can click into there, and that should already have you signed in since you're already signed into your MySEMO portal. And so the link on our website is public facing, so anyone can access it whether or not they have a SEMO account. So like if your parents are interested in seeing options, they can also search for programs there as well without actually signing in. So for scholarships with Study Abroad, we do offer scholarships to help fund student study abroad experience. And these are 5 options, but there are many more actually. You'll apply for these scholarships at this website. So it's semo.academicworks.com. And I mentioned previously that you do have to start applying for these scholarships about a year in advance of when you plan to study abroad. So you have to apply by February 1st to study abroad for the entire following academic year. So for example, this year, right now it's spring 2026. Students had to apply by February 1st, 2026 for study abroad programs occurring between fall 26 and summer 27. So since that deadline is so far ahead of our deadlines for applying to programs, you can actually apply for those scholarships before you've even chosen a program. It's good for you to have an idea of what your motivations are behind studying abroad, and if you have a particular destination in mind, how that destination connects with your career goals so that you have a better chance of receiving the scholarship. But we want to know that you have thought through what your motivation is behind studying abroad. Other scholarships, of course, you can use any of your regular SEMO scholarships towards study abroad. So if you receive any merit-based scholarships upon admission to SEMO, those scholarships can also be applied during your semester abroad, and then financial aid as well. I will note that military affiliated benefits or certain external scholarships from other organizations, they may have restrictions for the types of programs that you can participate in. So definitely work closely with our office and the Office of Military and Veterans Services to find out the best type of program for you and make sure that you're able to use those benefits towards the cost of the program that you've chosen. More ways to fund your study abroad if you're participating in a program through one of the providers, so AIFS, CIEE, or if you're participating in one of our Magellan Exchange programs, all of those organizations also offer scholarships for SEMO students. And also there's a number of scholarship search engines that you can look into. So these search engines, it's a database basically of different study abroad scholarships and scholarships in general for higher education funding. And so I would recommend Definitely this IIE Passport Study Abroad funding is a great resource for study abroad scholarships, as well as studyabroad.com. Those you'll find scholarships from all different companies and organizations who are offering scholarships to students studying abroad. You can also apply for scholarships that are offered by the U.S. Department of State. So there is a number of great award. We actually had a student this spring who was offered the Benjamin A. Gilman Scholarship for $4,000 to study abroad in Scotland. And this scholarship program is open to any U.S. citizen who receives the Pell Grant as part of their financial aid, or FAFSA. So this is a great opportunity. With this scholarship, you can earn up to $5,000 to support your study abroad program. And there are numerous application cycles. So even if you're not selected in one cycle, you can apply again during the following cycle. So you'll have to apply by early October for programs starting between December 1st and October 31st, and then by early March for the following cycle. In addition to the Benjamin A. Gilman Scholarship, they also offer other scholarships. So another one is the Gilman McCain Scholarship, but that one is open to U.S. dependents or spouses of active military members. And so that's a great award as well. That is also up to $5,000 to fund your study abroad experience. And then in addition to those awards, there are supplemental awards that you can apply for on top of the main award. So the supplemental awards that you can also apply to are the Critical Need Language Award or the STEM Supplemental Award. So the Critical Need Language Award, definitely look into that if you're participating in a language immersion program abroad. There are certain languages that are designated by the Department of State as critical need for our nation's security. And so if you are studying any of those languages, then you can also apply for this additional scholarship that is up to $3,000 in addition to the $5,000 Benjamin A. Gilman Award. Or if you're a STEM student, you can also apply for the STEM Supplemental Award, which supports STEM students studying abroad. So why study abroad? If you're not already convinced, which I'm sure if you've made it to this point in the presentation, you know that you want to study abroad, but the reasons for study abroad go far beyond the personal enjoyment of the experience. You have the opportunity, of course, on these programs to experience new cultures, but you also have the opportunity to improve your language and communication skills. And that's not only a foreign language if you're studying another language, but also your communication skills will improve just having to navigate a different cultural environment, a whole different system. And so your communication skills will improve from that experience. You'll also be able to boost your resume, showing that you have international experience, not just a vacation, but you have an academic and professional experience abroad. Of course, you also have the opportunity on these programs to explore new academic opportunities. So there are courses that you can take on these programs that we don't necessarily offer here on campus, but they still count towards your degree. And then you're able to make connections, not just friendships, but these friendships and relationships that you develop while abroad can turn into professional connections, global connections, international connections that could lead to job opportunities later on in your career. And then, of course, we always see students returning from these programs with improved skills, durable skills such as confidence, resilience, and independence. This is the last video I'll show you, but this is a testimonial from one of our alumni who graduated from SEMO. He studied abroad for a semester in Costa Rica at the program that we were just looking at actually on the portal. He makes some good points here as well.
My experience in Costa Rica was so amazing. I got to meet a lot of new friends throughout the whole world. I was in a host family. That was an amazing opportunity. I could actually get to experience Costa Rican culture. The courses I took were mostly in English. There was one Spanish language course, and we got to practice our skills with a native speaker. It was a pretty comprehensive class. This actually influenced my career path and opened a lot of opportunities. In the workforce, you will encounter a lot of challenges. With my study abroad, I feel that I'm more adapting to new cultures. It does take time, but if you have the skills to overcome culture shock, that will actually help you later on. I've also gained a pretty good perspective on interacting with peers from different backgrounds. I gained a better understanding of emotional intelligence. Using cultural differences, I'm able to develop a common objective for a team. Study abroad opportunity will open a lot of doors for you. You don't have to be a foreign language major to do a study abroad. Just always know that whenever you're overseas, you're representing our school and you're also representing our nation as well.
Okay, so I think that's a great point to end on, but I do just want to offer the resources that we have on campus for study abroad. Again, we have our study abroad portal. I think that will be your primary resource when it comes to study abroad. So there, of course, you can research program options and actually apply for your program there. And then once you're accepted into a program, we'll have a number of forms in the portal that you'll fill out, and those will help you stay on track as you're preparing to study abroad. We also have an international monthly newsletter that is sent out each month. We offer course pre-approvals to make sure your credits count, and we'll help walk you through that process once you're accepted into a program. We also have the Study Abroad Resource Room at the International Village, room 102 in the administration building, so you can stop by anytime. We have study abroad events where you can meet program representatives as well as students who have studied abroad. And then we have personal advising. So we can help you plan every step in the process, answer any question you have. We understand there are so many questions, that come up when you're planning a study abroad experience, especially if you've never traveled abroad before. So you are always welcome to schedule an appointment with us in person or virtual through SupportNet with one of our study abroad advisors. We have annual events hosted every year for study abroad. Typically, the Study Abroad Fair is hosted in August or early September, so be on the lookout for that. We also have our Study Abroad panel event, typically every November during International Education Week. And then Carpe Diem is our biggest cultural celebration of the year, which is not just a study abroad event, but we are represented at that event every year that occurs in February or early March. So that is the end of our presentation. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to our office. This is, again, our contact information and our website. So if you have any questions, please reach out. And we hope to see your application soon for a study abroad program.